Parents have an integral role to play in developing the framework for a child's educational journey, and education experts say one of the most important ways to cultivate a love of learning is to help your child navigate the early years with humour and enthusiasm. ADvTECH has recently published an article with advice for parents and caregivers on how to set up a daily connection routine and help your child build the skills which will be required from them later in their school careers. Desiree Hugo is academic head in the schools division, and she joins us now on Zoom to give us more information. Desiree, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Simpiwe, and good morning to all your viewers.
Let's start with the importance of laying down the foundations for academic success for our kids from as early as grade 1.
Certainly. I'd also just like to add that the foundations are laid even earlier than that. So if you consider ECD and preschool, you really start building the essential neural pathways for deeper learning as children move through school.
Sure.
But that formal year of grade 1 is obviously has the greatest impact in terms of how a child sees formal education beginning for them.
Now, what most education experts keep preaching is that from when a child enters grade 1, the focus must be on cultivating a love of learning. Tell us more about this and how it can be achieved.
Certainly. I mean, a love of learning is something that's going to stay with the child if they have a positive experience in the early times at schools. And this begins with how the parents organize the child's routines, get them to school on time so they start the day understanding what's coming. They start with their peers. They're not late arrivals, which really impacts their day. And just the teacher in the classroom plays a significant role in generating this deep love for learning. The relationships with peers, the relationships with the teacher, and the relationships with the parents are key in building a positive framework for good learning to take place throughout a child's career, throughout a child's school career.
Yeah, and just picking up on that point, Desiree, in most cases you find that teachers are expected to lay these foundations, but tell us more about the role that parents play and how this is important in terms of developing the framework for a child's educational journey.
Yeah, I think it definitely starts in the home. What are those healthy routines that you are setting up as a parent for your child? You know, are you ensuring they have a nutritious meal? Are they getting enough rest? Going to bed at a good early time for a young one is essential so that they can really be excited about the next day. And the healthy routines then lead us to how do we build resilience in our children? We need to ensure that our children are comfortable when they go to school. But if they do come home and there is a complaint, listen to them, hear them. But don't immediately say, oh, everyone else is bad. I would suggest a parent rather goes to the school and investigates. My child is not feeling comfortable. Let's have a conversation about this. Is there something more I as a parent can do at home to really understand what is needed? Or is there a further conversation that we need to have around peer group mentorship and really building that child's comfort in the classroom? And I think the other part is staying positive. As I said earlier, the conversation a parent has with their child around the school day and when the child highlights something that may trigger a little alert in a parent, follow it up, but not saying, oh, that's so typical, or blame the school or blame the other child. Try and understand more and make the time with the adults to discuss what is going on. Trust the school and build that relationship before any major decisions are made about moving a child to another school. Because unless you really try and solve what's causing the concern, another school may not be any different.
Right.
So I think it's first around just understanding what is going on and how to support your child. And that's when I say stay positive. You know, let's first stay positive and really follow the steps of meet with the teacher, meet with the head of department, meet with the principal. Around the interests of your child.
And I suppose in addition to building the necessary resilience in the kids, do unpack for us how parents should also help their children build the skills which will be required from them later on in their school careers.
So that's why I started off with just saying those early years, that engagement around learning is important, but you don't drum it into a child's head. and particularly when they get home. We really want them to build the skills of loving learning. You want the joy of learning. I mean, the joy of learning is what is going to encourage them to become those future leaders and future students who think differently in this world we need. And perhaps even peace education, comes into it, where we talk about not resolving issues just with conflict. And then it comes to understanding, how does my child learn? Children have different approaches to learning. So if we are scaffolding the learning to ensure those essential skills and resilience all come together, we need to unpack it and understand, right, my child really learns better when I don't sit in and push and push and push as a parent. I encourage, I am there to support, I ask the right questions. And this is where I say building those neural pathways early. Don't just feed a child information, and we work with our teachers on this consistently. Inquiry-based teaching should carry over to the home. Rather ask your child good questions rather than just giving them the answers. And this can happen when you're driving to school and your child says to you, "Oh, mommy, why is the sky blue?" or "Why is there a dark thundercloud?" Don't just say, "Oh," and give them an explanation. Ask them, "Why do you think the sky is blue?" Or "Why do you think that has happened?" Really push the inquiry from a very young age. And that opens up that little mind around, wow, I can have ideas and theories too. And let me be able to share them, because that builds those constructs in the brain, builds those neural pathways that allows that deeper thinking as the child ages, progresses, and it's encouraged more and more.
That's a good point, Desiree. It really is an excellent point, more especially because it builds that probing skills amongst children. And you also put emphasis on parents and caregivers to provide playful after-school home routines right from grade 1. Tell us about the importance of this, and how much is too much of playful routines?
Yeah, I don't think you ever get enough of playful routines. I mean, MIT launched a whole book on lifelong kindergarten. And that is really where they build in their labs around creating thinkers, even at adult stage.
Yes.
But it starts in the kindergarten years, in the preschool years, into the grade 1 years. So playful pedagogy, and this is followed up by research that was done with Harvard University on the pedagogy of play. We should be bringing it into our classrooms. But not only that, when children go home, so often parents, and I was just having a conversation this past week with a parent, she's got her child's day so structured. And I was saying to her, when is there time for fantasy play for your child?
Yeah.
Because when children can imagine and wonder, it stimulates their curiosity to think more deeply.
Okay.
So those playful opportunities, you can never say that's too much play. You can bring the learning into the play, and I think that's where the pedagogy of play comes in. And it's essential for schools to start doing that in classrooms, but also to carry it over to home.
Right. And perhaps one of the things that some kids struggle with when they advance through the grades is the growing workload. What can be done to make sure that they actually cope with this?
Yeah, I think it is set a routine. You know, when your child comes home from school, have some downtime, have some conversation time, and then say, right, this is how much homework you've got, or you share with me. Show me how much homework you've got. How long do you think it's going to take you? And let's set that time aside. Have a place where they can go and have that quiet time to do their homework. Don't be the parent who's over the shoulder all the time and say, no, that's wrong, do it my way. No, that's incorrect. Rather let the child do it, because it's the school's responsibility to support them in understanding the conceptual development of what they've done. So those teachers will understand the building blocks. I know if as a parent, we try and push our construct of learning onto our children. And that's something we should be mindful of. Rather let them engage, let them try. Don't take over and rub out their work and say, no, that's wrong, do it this way. Let them try and let that be presented to the teacher, because then the teacher really knows where your child is at. And it's not homework is to be developmental and to be part of the learning. Failing in your homework is part of the learning. It's not wrong. It really is about failing forward and understanding where the gaps are in that child's learning for the teacher, so that the teacher can go back and revisit the learning and correct the misconceptions that may have arisen in the way she or he may have taught the lesson. So
Okay.
we love to teach our teachers to use data consistently. And when I say that, data from the work the students are presenting to you, doing little checks for understanding throughout the lesson, exit tickets, using the homework as that understanding check.
All right.
Is this child understanding my teaching?
Lessons learned, Desiree. Lessons learned. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your sentiments and thoughts with us.
Absolute pleasure, and thank you to the viewers and to you.
All right, thank you. That's ADvTECH's Desiree Hugo, and she's been speaking to us about building the foundations for future academic success from when a child enters grade 1. Well, it could be even earlier, from as early as ECD stage.